The Zorathian High Council chamber was filled with an uneasy murmur. As the lights dimmed, the central holographic display lit up, casting a bluish glow over the assembled leaders. High Council member Lyra stood at the podium, her eyes scanning the room. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Esteemed Council," she began, her voice steady, "we face an unprecedented challenge. The humans have encroached upon our territory. Their intentions are unclear, but their technology and expansionist tendencies pose a significant threat." The chamber fell silent. The Zorathians, known for their peaceful and isolated existence, had never faced such a formidable outside force. Whispers of concern filled the room as Lyra continued. "Our intelligence reports suggest that their fleet is equipped with advanced weaponry and a willingness to expand at any cost. We cannot afford to wait until they are at our doorstep. We must take action now to ensure the safety of our people and our way of life." The council members exchanged worried glances. High Chancellor Theron, a respected elder with deep lines etched into his face, rose from his seat. "Lyra, what do you propose?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Lyra hesitated for a moment before responding. "We must declare war on the humans. It is the only way to protect ourselves." The chamber erupted in a mix of shock and debate. Some argued for diplomacy, while others supported Lyra's call to arms. Theron raised his hand, and the room quieted once more. "Let us vote," he said. "The time for deliberation has passed." The vote was swift and decisive. The majority supported Lyra's proposal. With a sense of finality, Theron declared, "War it is. May the cosmos have mercy on us all." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Prometheus, Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the star-studded expanse through the viewport. The ship hummed with activity as crew members moved efficiently at their stations. A signal from Earth Command had just come through, and Daniel's expression was one of deep contemplation. "Captain, message from Earth Command," reported Lieutenant Benjamin Ben Price, Daniel's trusted friend and tactical officer. "The Zorathians have declared war." Daniel nodded, processing the gravity of the situation. "Thank you, Ben," he replied, his voice steady. "Assemble the senior staff in the briefing room. We need to strategize." In the briefing room, Admiral Victoria Green's image flickered on the communication screen. "Captain Carter, this is not a fight we sought, but it is one we must prepare for. We need to protect our exploratory missions and ensure the safety of our people." Daniel nodded. "Understood, Admiral. We will prepare defensive measures and assess the Zorathian capabilities. Our priority is to protect our fleet and find a way to de-escalate this conflict." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "Daniel, remember, we are explorers at heart, not conquerors. If there is a chance for peace, we must find it." "Agreed, Admiral," Daniel responded. "We will do everything in our power to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." After the call ended, Daniel turned to his officers. "We need to gather all available intelligence on the Zorathians, their strengths, weaknesses, and any potential allies within their ranks. We also need to prepare our defenses and ensure our crew is ready for any eventuality." Ben stepped forward, a determined look on his face. "Captain, I suggest a reconnaissance mission to Zorathian space. We need first-hand information." Daniel considered the suggestion. "It's risky but necessary. Prepare a small team. We leave at dawn." As the crew dispersed to their tasks, Daniel lingered for a moment, staring out at the stars. The weight of leadership pressed heavily on his shoulders. He knew the coming days would test his resolve and the strength of his crew. He was determined to find a path to peace, but he also understood the harsh reality of war. Back on Zorathia, Lyra walked through the grand halls of the council building, her mind racing with the implications of the declaration. She had advocated for war, but now the responsibility weighed heavily on her. She knew the humans were not monsters, just as she knew her own people had their fears and prejudices. In the quiet of her chambers, Lyra resolved to find a way to end the conflict before it escalated further. She would use her position to seek out those within the human ranks who also desired peace. It was a fragile hope, but one she clung to desperately. As dawn approached on the Prometheus, Daniel and his team prepared for their mission. The sleek reconnaissance vessel stood ready, a symbol of both hope and the perils ahead. Daniel took a moment to address his team. The Prometheus glided through the silent expanse, its sleek frame cutting a path toward Zorathian space. Inside, the crew buzzed with anticipation, each member acutely aware of the mission's significance. Captain Daniel Carter, seated in the command chair, watched the stars streak by through the viewport, his mind focused on the task ahead. "Captain, we're approaching the Zorathian perimeter," announced Lieutenant Benjamin Ben Price from the tactical console. His voice was steady, but Daniel detected an undercurrent of tension. Ben's injury from the previous encounter still weighed heavily on him. "Initiate stealth protocols," Daniel ordered. "We need to avoid detection as long as possible." The lights on the bridge dimmed as the ship systems switched to silent running mode. The hum of the engines lowered, and the crew moved with a heightened sense of caution. Every action was deliberate, every word measured. "Commander Jones, what's our status?" Daniel asked, turning to his second-in-command, Sarah Jones. "All systems are green, Captain," she replied. "We're running silent, and our trajectory is on course." Daniel nodded, satisfied with the progress. "Good. Let's keep it that way. We need to gather as much intelligence as possible without engaging." As the Prometheus continued its covert approach, the crew monitored the surrounding space for any signs of Zorathian activity. The tension was tangible, but the crew remained focused, each member performing their duties with precision. "Captain, we're detecting a Zorathian patrol ship on an intercept course," Ben reported, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They haven't spotted us yet, but they're getting close." Daniel's mind raced through the options. "Adjust our heading to avoid detection. We can't afford a confrontation." The Prometheus shifted its course slightly, gliding away from the patrol ship's path. The maneuver was executed flawlessly, and the Zorathian ship passed by without incident. Daniel exhaled quietly, relieved but aware that the danger was far from over. "Well done, everyone," he said. "Let's proceed to the next waypoint." As they continued deeper into Zorathian space, the crew's vigilance never wavered. They knew the stakes were high and that any mistake could lead to disaster. Daniel's thoughts drifted to the larger picture. He hoped their mission would yield the information needed to prevent further conflict. "Captain, we're nearing the Zorathian outpost," Sarah informed him. "We should be able to gather the data we need from this location." "Excellent," Daniel replied. "Prepare the probes. We need detailed scans of their defenses and communication networks." The crew moved swiftly, launching a series of probes toward the outpost. The devices transmitted a wealth of information back to the Prometheus, painting a clear picture of the Zorathian capabilities. "Captain, we've got what we need," Ben said, reviewing the data. "Their defenses are formidable, but we can find weak points to exploit if necessary." Daniel studied the information, his expression thoughtful. "Good work. Let's return to base and analyze this further. We need to be prepared for any scenario." As the Prometheus began its return journey, the sense of accomplishment was tempered by the realization of the challenges ahead. The crew had performed admirably, but the conflict with the Zorathians was far from resolved. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal," Ben announced suddenly. "It's coming from a Zorathian civilian vessel." Daniel's brow furrowed. "Can we verify its authenticity?" "Yes, sir. It's genuine. They're under attack from a rogue faction within their own ranks," Ben confirmed. Daniel considered the implications. Helping the Zorathian civilians could be a significant gesture, but it also posed great risk. Set a course for the distress signal. Prepare a response team. As the Prometheus altered its path, Daniel addressed his crew. "This is a delicate situation. We're here to help, not to provoke. Be ready for anything." When they arrived at the distress site, the site was chaotic. The civilian vessel was under heavy fire from a renegade Zorathian ship. Daniel quickly deployed the response team, who moved with precision to provide aid and repel the attackers. "Hold the line and protect the civilians," Daniel commanded. The crew worked tirelessly, managing to disable the rogue ship and secure the safety of the Zorathian vessel. As the dust settled, a communication from the Zorathian civilians came through. "Thank you, humans. We didn't expect such help from your kind." Daniel responded, "We are not your enemies. We seek peace, not war." The acknowledgement from the Zorathian side was a small but significant step towards mutual understanding. As the Prometheus resumed its journey home, Daniel couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. The road to peace would be long and fraught with challenges, but moments like this provided a glimmer of possibility. "Captain, we've received a message from the Zorathian High Council," Sarah announced. "They request a formal meeting to discuss terms." The Prometheus glided back into human-controlled space, its mission complete but the challenges far from over. Captain Daniel Carter stood at the helm, reviewing the intelligence they had gathered. The Zorathian High Council's request for a formal meeting was a ray of hope, but Daniel knew the path to peace would be fraught with peril. "Commander Jones, prepare the shuttle for our departure," Daniel instructed. "We'll meet the Zorathians on neutral ground." Sarah Jones nodded, her expression resolute. "Understood, Captain. We'll be ready in 10 minutes. Daniel made his way to the briefing room where his senior staff had gathered. The air was thick with anticipation. Lieutenant Benjamin "Ben" Price, still recovering from his injuries, sat at the table, a determined look on his face. "Listen up," Daniel began, his voice firm. "We've received an invitation for peace talks from the Zorathians. This is our chance to end this conflict before it escalates further. Our mission is to negotiate a ceasefire and find a path to lasting peace. We need to be prepared for anything." Admiral Victoria Green's image appeared on the communication screen. "Captain, this is a delicate situation. The Zorathians are wary of us, and any misstep could reignite hostilities. Proceed with caution and remember, diplomacy is our greatest weapon." Daniel nodded. "Understood, Admiral. We'll handle this with the utmost care." Minutes later, Daniel, Sarah, and a small delegation boarded the shuttle and departed the Prometheus. Their destination was a neutral station, a floating platform in the expanse between human and Zorathian space. The journey was brief, but the weight of the mission pressed heavily on their shoulders. Upon arrival, they were greeted by a contingent of Zorathian guards. Lyra, the High Council member who had initially advocated for war, stood at the forefront. Her eyes met Daniel's, and for a moment, there was a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of their meeting. "Welcome, Captain Carter," Lyra said, her tone measured. "I hope we can find common ground today." "Thank you, Counselor Lyra," Daniel replied. "We share that hope." They were escorted to a large chamber where the talks would take place. The room was stark, devoid of decoration, a reflection of the seriousness of their task. Daniel and his team took their seats opposite the Zorathian delegation. "Let's begin," Lyra said, breaking the silence. "We have all suffered losses. It is time to put an end to this." Daniel nodded. "Agreed. We propose a ceasefire, followed by joint efforts to address our misunderstandings. We must ensure the safety of our people while working towards mutual respect and cooperation." As the discussions unfolded, it became clear that the Zorathians were deeply divided. Some were eager for peace, while others harbored deep-seated mistrust of humans. Daniel and Lyra worked tirelessly, navigating the complexities of interstellar diplomacy. Hours passed, and progress was slow but steady. Just as they began to see a glimmer of hope, a sudden alarm echoed through the chamber. The lights dimmed, and emergency protocols activated. "What's happening?" Daniel asked, rising to his feet. A Zorathian guard rushed in. "We are under attack by a rogue faction. They do not want these talks to succeed." Lyra's face hardened. "We must defend this station. If these talks fail, it will mean war." Daniel turned to his team. "We need to work together. This is our chance to prove that we can stand united." As the rogue ships approached, Daniel and Lyra coordinated their forces. The battle was intense, but the combined efforts of humans and Zorathians began to turn the tide. Daniel's strategic acumen and Lyra's leadership were instrumental in repelling the attackers. In the heat of the battle, Ben displayed remarkable courage, taking command of a critical defense point and inspiring those around him. His actions underscored the importance of unity and trust between the two species. As the last rogue ship was driven away, a silence settled over the station. The room where the talks had taken place now bore the marks of the struggle, but it stood as a testament to their resolve. Lyra turned to Daniel, her expression one of both exhaustion and hope. "We did it. We proved that we can work together." Daniel nodded, his respect for Lyra deepening. "This is just the beginning. We have much work to do, but we've taken the first step." The Prometheus returned to human-controlled space, its mission an unexpected success but far from complete. Captain Daniel Carter knew that the battle they had just fought alongside the Zorathians was a prelude to more significant challenges ahead. He stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the stars as he contemplated their next steps. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," Lieutenant Benjamin Ben Price announced. His voice carried a note of urgency, drawing Daniel's attention. "Put it through," Daniel instructed, turning to face the communication screen. Admiral Victoria Green's face appeared, her expression grave. "Captain Carter, we've received word of your efforts with the Zorathians. Your success in defending the neutral station is commendable. However, our intelligence suggests that not all Zorathians are on board with the peace process. Rogue factions are planning an attack on our colonies. We need you to prevent this escalation." Daniel nodded, absorbing the weight of the mission. "Understood, Admiral. We'll do whatever it takes to maintain the peace." "Good. I'm sending you the coordinates of the suspected base. Be prepared for anything." Green out. The screen went dark, and Daniel turned to his crew. "We have our orders. Prepare for immediate departure to the coordinates. This is our chance to stop the rogue factions and secure peace." The Prometheus altered course, its crew moving with practiced efficiency. As they neared the coordinates, the tension on the bridge heightened. The rogue base came into view, nestled within the rocky surface of an uninhabited moon. "Scanners show multiple ships docked and active defense systems," Ben reported, his eyes narrowing as he analyzed the data. "Commander Jones, ready our strike team," Daniel ordered. "Ben, you and I will lead the ground assault. The rest of you maintain the ship's defenses and be ready for extraction." Sarah Jones acknowledged the command, her voice steady. "Strike team ready, Captain." The shuttle descended towards the moon, the ground team bracing for action. As they approached the base, Daniel's mind raced through potential strategies. They needed to disable the rogue faction's capabilities without causing unnecessary casualties. The shuttle landed with a soft thud, and the team disembarked, weapons at the ready. The barren landscape provided little cover, forcing them to move quickly. Ben led the way, his tactical expertise guiding their approach. "Captain, we've got movement ahead," Ben whispered, signaling for the team to halt. Through his visor, Daniel saw figures moving near the base's entrance. "Hold your fire until we're in position," Daniel instructed. "We need to take them by surprise." The team advanced, silently closing the distance. When they were within range, Daniel signaled the attack. The coordinated strike was swift and precise, overwhelming the guards before they could sound an alarm. "Entry secured," Ben confirmed. "Let's move inside." Navigating the base's corridors, they encountered sporadic resistance, each skirmish brief and controlled. Daniel's focus was on the control center, where they could disable the base's defenses and halt the rogue operations. Reaching the control room, they found it heavily guarded. Daniel devised a plan to create a diversion while a smaller team infiltrated from the side. The diversion worked flawlessly, drawing the guards away and allowing the infiltration team to breach the control room. Inside, they encountered the base commander, a fierce-looking Zorathian with a determined glare. "You humans have no place here," he shouted, drawing a weapon. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but authoritative. "We are not your enemies. Stand down, and we can resolve this peacefully." The commander's resolve wavered, but he held his ground. "Our cause is just. The High Council is weak. They will betray us all." Your actions will only lead to more bloodshed, Daniel countered. Help us end this war. Work with us to build a future where both our people can thrive. For a moment, silence hung in the air. The commander lowered his weapon, his expression conflicted. I will surrender. But know this, not all will be swayed so easily. Daniel nodded, respecting the commander's decision. Thank you. We'll take it from here. With the base secured and the rogue faction leader detained, the Prometheus prepared to return to Earth. The mission had been a success, but Daniel knew the journey towards lasting peace was only beginning. Back on the Prometheus, Daniel and his team debriefed, the mood a mix of relief and anticipation. We did well today, Daniel said, addressing his crew. But our work isn't done. We must remain vigilant and continue to foster trust between our people and the Zorathians. As the ship entered hyperspace, a message came through from the Zorathian High Council. Lyra's face appeared on the screen, her expression one of cautious optimism. Captain Carter, your efforts have not gone unnoticed. We are ready to continue peace talks. Together, we can overcome the divisions that threaten us.